Welcome back, everyone, to another segment of the MCR. Mac and me, my name's TJ. In this segment, I'd like to make some comments on the soon to be ex mayor of Chicago, Lori Lightfoot. And I think most people have known that she lost. It's really kind of weird because Chicago's so heavily Democrat. And Detroit does the same thing too, where there is really no Republican candidate. They take the top two, regardless of party affiliate, and then they run against each other. It's almost like they have a runoff, and then they have an election of the top two. Am I getting that right, Mac?
Well, they have a primary, and then they have a runoff of the top two.
Yeah,
California is the same way. That's why it's very difficult for a Republican to get elected there.
yeah. And Detroit does the same thing. So really nothing new here. That's just how heavily Democrat uh, a lot of these larger cities have become. But in any event, that election was held, I want to say, on the 28th of November, as in just a few weeks ago. And Lori Lightfoot got spanked. And I think most people are aware of that. But there was something that transpired last week that well, I thought was kind of cool, and I just had to throw out there for people who might be unaware of. Uh, a news reporter, and you know what? I'm not quite sure who he's with, but a reporter by the name of William J. Kelly, who lives in the city of Chicago. Lori Lightfoot didn't like the way he was reporting on her and revoked his press pass so that he would be kept from any press briefings and that kind of stuff. Well, they had a city council meeting last week, and there was like a lottery of who could sit in the general attendance. In other words, since they were stuck with a set number, uh, people who were interested had to enter into a lottery. And even William J. Kelly, he says it was just dumb luck because he with his press pass being revoked, he entered into the lottery. He said it was just really just dumb luck that he got picked in the lottery. Okay?
Or divine intervention.
Well, yeah, probably. Anyways, during the course of this city council meeting, they had an open mic session where those in attendance could say their thing. And William J. Kelly got up there. And you can find the video on I want to say the Gateway Pundit, where this guy just proceeds to go on a rant and dress down Lori Lightfoot as to how she had destroyed the city, how she had revoked his press pass, yet through luck or however was able to get into get the lottery pick. I'm going to say, okay, allowing him to get up to the mic and commence dressing her down. We'll say toward the end of his rant, because that's what it was. He went on a rant. Towards the end of his rant, he says to Lori Lightfoot that she needed to pack her suitcase and get the hell out of my city. And of course, by residing within Chicago, in other words, he's not one of these suburbanites, by being a city resident, he felt qualified to say, get the hell out of my city.
Yeah, she's a piece of work, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's video of her dancing in the street with some sort of goofball band. And you think, she's dancing in the street, acting goofy, while people are getting killed in her city. And
yeah,
and it's just her conduct just flies in the face of reason.
well, one question I have is, how was she able to get away with revoking his press pants? Here again is the double standard. And to be fair, Donald Trump tried to do the same thing with, I think it might have been Jim Acosta or a couple others.
Yeah, I think it was Acosta.
He tried to revoke their, and the court overturned that and said, no, you can't do that. But apparently you can do it to this guy in Chicago.
Yeah. Of course, one of Lori Lightfoot's defenders, toward the end of his rant, yelled out, because during his rant, he included in his rant how she so tyrannically shut down the city during the pandemic, and one of her supporters yelled that out, basically yelling out to him, there was a pandemic. And then he turns to this supporter and says, you're a pandemic. Again, says, you're a pandemic. Basically calling her and those who support her a pandemic. You're the problem. You've destroyed this city. And I'll tell you what, you couldn't pay me enough to go visit what they call the Windy City. I guess they call it the Windy City because of the way the wind comes off of Lake Michigan. But
yes, that's right.
I
don't go there. I've been there. I don't go there. I try, if I'm driving west, I do everything I can to avoid going anywhere near Chicago. She, any criticism of her is racism, homophobia, throw all the others, isms and phobes in there, and that's her defense. She is above criticism. I don't like, are you above criticism? Because if you look at our comment sections, we sure aren't.
Well, the two, in this election that was held on the 28th of February, Paul Vallas, Vallas, he got 32.9% of the votes at 185,743. Then a Brandon Johnson came in second with 26.1% of the vote, 122 and 93. Lori Lightfoot came in third with 16.8% at 94,000. So the winner, Paul, had twice as many votes as Lori Lightfoot.
Yeah.
An interesting observation here is that city's got way more than, and I'm just doing a quick count here, 500,000. Basically, you had half the city voting, and half the city didn't. You could just by doing ballpark figures here,
right?
A large segment of the city's population didn't bother to vote in this.
There's no. This ought to tell you something. Actually, there's no ballot harvesting in Democrat elections. Only in general elections.
They do have listed here that 28.7% of the vote, which was at 161,000 and some and change, were for a list of other candidates that they did not specify. So Paul Vallas, he had more than the other candidates, fourth place and down combined. You being a stat man, I thought maybe perhaps you'd find these figures interesting.
I do.
But yeah, so it's going to be between Paul Vallas and Brandon Johnson, and I guess Paul, in his spiel for campaigning, is he's going to try and get crime back under control in the city. Of course, seeing is believing. We'll see if he actually does what he says.
Well, will he be hampered by the Soros-backed DA there?
Yeah, you know what? Who knows? So, like I said, what I wanted to talk about in this segment wasn't necessarily the fact of Lori Lightfoot getting voted out, but this reporter taking her to task. Get the hell out of my city,
Yeah, well, she ought to be shown. She's been shown the door, And of course, as I said earlier, it's racism and homophobia. It's not the crap job she did. And the fact
Oh,
that
you
it's
know,
a
and
war zone.
and in the video, he does appear to be of Caucasian descent. I don't know what his DNA ethnicity is, other than, when you watch the video, he does not appear to be a minority. You know.
Okay.
So bravo to William J. Kelly, to Ms. Lightfoot. All right, that's all I got. Any final thoughts?
No,
All
I'm good.
right, we'll call that a wrap. And thanks everyone for your support, and we'll catch you in our next rant. Thanks. Bye.